Good morning, everyone. Good morning. First of all, let me tell you if everything works, if you can hear me, if the microphone works. Let me know. So let me check if it works by myself. Let me see, because it has been a couple of weeks since streaming, so I need to check if everything works as it should. Let me check. I think it's fine. I think everything is fine. So first of all, let's start immediately by let me know if you have questions about 3ds Max. Great. I'm checking your chat. Good morning. Good morning. And so let me know if you have questions immediately. If not, today we will start with something completely new. That is, we will see how to manage materials in 3ds Max. So someone asked, do we have email? Our concept, not by email. You have to upload them on your on the same folder where you upload your homeworks. So if you have made like a PDF, a PowerPoint, just upload them exactly like any other homework, and that will be fine. Okay? Perfect. Other questions? If not, we will start with new believable journey into 3ds Max materials. Let me see if someone else has questions. Okay, so let's start with 3ds Max materials. First of all, what is a material? When we create 3D models, you may have seen that all our objects have a continuous color, a constant color. They are mainly very bright blue. This is fine when we start modeling, this is fine at the beginning, but for sure this can be the color and the look of our final objects. In 3ds Max, we can highly customize the way that an object is looking like. And there are many parameters involved into the aspect of an object. There is not only the color. There are many parameters that we need to understand, like the color, the texture. Maybe a color can be glossy or it can be matte. Then the surface of an object can be polished, can be rough, and objects can be transparent or they can be opaque. And all these parameters, all these aspects are all basically managed together by something that in 3ds Max are called materials. Materials are depending on the render engine that you use. So, first and most important step that we need to do will be this. Look. So, let me resize a little bit this window so that I will Exactly. Let's just give me a second. No. So that I keep exactly my chat in here, so that if a message pops up I can answer. So what I was saying is this. First and most important step. Whoa, how is this possible? Someone says I cannot hear anything now, while all other students were saying the audio works. So just let me see my video. I can hear my voice, my video works. So Julie, it is not my problem. You have to pump up the volume because the volume is working. Microsoft is working. Check it again. Now I can. You know, probably you were pressing the mute button. Is it true? Anyway, so we were talking about materials, and first and most important thing that you have to do is this. Look. So you have to go, in order to start working with materials, you have to work by going into this menu up here that is called rendering. So you have to go up here. You have to click rendering, and then you must click render setup. As you may notice here, same thing can be done, it is written next to it, by having a keyboard shortcut that is F10. Anyway, so let's click render setup, and in render setup we must set parameters exactly like you see into the screen. What it means, you need to be sure that here it is written production rendering mode. You must be also sure that here it is written ART renderer. If it is not, if you find something else written, like if it is written scanline renderer, that is not a big problem. What you have to do is open this menu, and from these choices here, you must select the one that is called ART renderer. This is extremely important because render engine, that is this choice here, is the one that manages materials, and if you don't set it like this, all things that we are going to see, so it has to be art renderer, all things that we are going to see, they won't work simply. So you must set your 3ds Max like this. So I'll keep this window for a few more seconds so that you have time enough to go to rendering, select render setup, and set your 3ds Max like this. And just, I said art render here, yes. Just one additional note. This is an option that won't stay like this forever. So each time that you open a new 3ds Max file, it will start as it was at the beginning. But if you want to be sure that art renderer remains your default choice, once that you select art renderer, scroll this menu down to the end, where you find the option called Assign Renderer. Click here, and just once in your life, click Save as Defaults. In this way, no matter if you remember or not to check this option, 3ds Max will start already set like this. Okay? Till here? Okay. Let me see. If you have problems, tell me, because now we are going to use our materials. In order to use materials, we need to have objects created in our scene. So I will just create a few random, simple, solid objects. So look, I will just create a box. I will create a sphere. And I will create a teapot. That is an interesting object to understand the behavior of a material. Note that I'm doing something that I assume you already know because I've explained it many times. But when I create my objects, I also need to understand that objects must be created with realistic dimensions. So, when I make a box, I simply take a look at overall dimensions that are written here. And especially with materials, my dimensions must be very, not super precise, but close to the reality of dimensions of the object itself. So if I make a, let's say, something that for me must be glass, glass can be like 100 centimeters thick, but I will make glass by being sure that the width, let's say, will be very thin, like 0.7 centimeter. That means 7 millimeters of glass, and so on and so on. So when you use 3ds Max from now, remember, especially with materials, you can't mess with dimensions. If not, materials won't work. Okay, I think we are almost done. I just want to create another box that I will use as a floor, and I have all objects that I can use to test my materials. So now that I have this very basic scene, let's see how to use materials. That is very simple at the beginning. Then it becomes a little bit more complex. So what I have to do is I have to go again on my rendering menu, and from rendering menu I will go to that part that is called Material Editor. And there are two available Material Editor layouts. I need to choose the one that is called Slate Material Editor, like this. And this is what you will get. When once that you have made this choice once, so once that you have clicked Slate Material Editor, from now what you can do is you can use a keyboard shortcut that is M in order to show or hide Material Editor whenever you need. So look, I'll just write it. Once that you first make this choice, then if you use M as keyboard shortcut, from now, look, I press M and I hide the material editor. I press M to show material editor, always like this, and it becomes particularly fast to hide or show material editor. Okay? Let me know if you can see this exact window. Just give me a couple of confirm, and from here I will move on. So let me know if it works. Let me know if you can see this same window here called dialog box, called material editor. Yes, perfect. So now let's see how interesting this material editor is. Let's understand how it works, which are perfect. So let's see which parts of the material editor we need to know. Material editor is divided in 4 main areas. What we have is this. Look, I will just highlight them. What we have is up here into the material editor, we have a few buttons that will give us some interesting possibility in order to check the material in real time in our viewport. So in here, once that we will add the materials, so we will see a few of these buttons only. There will be mainly these two. And believe it or not, in here there is only this other button that is useful, that is called pick material, but we will see them later. So even if there are many buttons up there, believe it or not, just these 3 buttons are really useful. Then what we have is we have 3 columns that are this, and that. And what we have is this one is called Material Map Browser. So it allows us to scroll a menu that contains preset materials that we can immediately use in our projects without needing each time to create a new materials. But as well as this, it has also the possibility to give us templates to create new materials from scratch. In the middle, we have our viewer. And here is where all materials that we will use in our projects are listed. And I will show you in 2 minutes how it works. Then we have parameter editor, this part, that if we select a material from here into the parameter editor, we will see parameters of our selected material. Last but not least, even if it's not really important, is this area here that is called navigator, that will tell us where materials are placed. But let's see how material editor works and how to use, one way, because there are multiple ways to use material, but one way that is highly efficient to use materials, that is this. We will start using materials that are preset in 3ds Max. So before being able to create our own materials, I will show you how to deal with preset materials from library. What you have to do is you have simply to scroll the material map browser, and you have to go down till, let me enlarge it a little bit, Let's see if you can read better. Exactly. Till you see something that is called Autodesk Material Library. This is a folder that is a common folder used by all Autodesk softwares that contains a lot of preset materials. And it is basically divided into folders. So there are AAC means architectural, then there is ceramic, concrete, fabric, finish, flooring, glass, glazing, and so on and so on. So when we look for a material, first thing that we can easily do will be we can open one of these folders. Let's say I want to use concrete. So I open concrete folder. And in here, I can see that the software gives me several preset options. What I can do is, even if it has one additional step, what I have to do is simply this. First thing, in order to be more organized, I will left-click on the material that I want to use, and I will drag and drop this material from the library to my view. In this way, I will know that in my project I am using this material that is called concrete blocks from the Autodesk Material Library. Once that I have placed this material on my view, what I will do is this. You can see that the material has this kind of plugs that are connected. Just follow me. The thing that I have to do is very simple, and it is this. From my material, that is this one, from this big plug that I see on the right of my material, what I have to do is I have to left click here, hold my left button, and I have to drag this wire that appears if I left click and drag, and I need to continue this operation till I'm still using my left button pressed, till I go over the object where I want to apply the material, and only then I will release my left button and boom, and I will see that my material is applied. Okay? So let's repeat. Look. What I have to do is, let's use another material. Flooring. And then wooden floor. And then there is one that has chocolate in the name. I don't know what it is. Okay, let's find one. This one, red oak rosewood. So let's repeat. Step 1, I drag and drop the material on my view. Second step, from this dot, I left click and drag, and I move my mouse till I go over the object where I want to apply that material, and only then I release my left button. Okay? And there is a small problem here. So till here, can you do this operation or not? Let me check. Give me a sign. Perfect. Phenomenal. Let's see. All positive feedbacks till now. Fantastic. Believable. Great. I have no other ways to say great. So let's stick here. So look here. And in reality, if I take a look at my material, oui, très bien, perfect. So, see this. The view is also somewhere where I can zoom in with my wheel. And if I notice, the material should look a little bit different. Especially the flooring. Flooring material should be brown, and it will probably has, not probably, it has for sure, a wooden texture. But once that I have applied my material to my objects are just becoming grayish and gray. So, see why we need to know these buttons on, some of these buttons on the material editor. Simply because if I want to have the preview of my material directly visible in my viewport here, what I have to do is just this. Look, I have to select a material. So I left click here. And you can see that material is highlighted with a white boundary. And if I want to enable the preview of this material, I have to select it and I have to click this button here. This circle that is called Show Shaded Material into Viewport. And this must be done material by material. So, first of all, you can see that by checking this button for this material, look now, just hide it for a second, but look now what I can see. I can perfectly see how my material works on my selected object. Perfect. I can still see that my wooden cube doesn't look like wood, so I will repeat this process again. Look, if I want to enable the preview for my flooring material, I have to select by left clicking once my material, and I have to click this tiny button in my material editor that is called again Show Shaded Material in Viewport, and boom! And starting from now, my material will be perfectly visible in my viewport. This works for all those materials that have a texture. So if you use a material like metal or plastic that have just main color on them, this is quite useless, I will say. But for those materials that have a texture, this is extremely important to understand the behavior of those materials. Let me repeat these last time. So look, let's close flooring. Sorry. Okay, let's answer to these two questions. So why does my wood material look pixelated? Question number one. Answer for this question should be this one. What you have to do is you have to select your object where you have applied the material itself first. And what you have to do is you need to check into the Modify tab dimensions of your object. Dimensions must be realistic. What it means? It means that if I've made, look, a box, that is, look, right now this would be 64,000 centimeters big, okay? And if I drag and drop this material, look, can you see that it looks like material is not working anymore? In reality, it's not that material is not working, but what is wrong is that this object is too big and material is basically not even appearing. Look, I have to zoom in very close to see this. And same thing happens on the opposite. So if I make a box, wait a second, let me make a wrong box. Exactly. But if my box is terribly wrong, like it is, exactly, it is so small that I can barely see it right now. Let's make it 1 millimeter at least. Let's see if I can see it. What is here? Here is my tiny little box. If I apply this material to this object, look, this is so small that I don't even see the texture. I can make it slightly bigger and it appears like this. But this is because my object is simply too small. If I make a realistic dimension according to the material, so if I'm making flooring, I can make a piece of floor that is 1 centimeter. Would be like 80 centimeters. Let's check. I zoom out and everything works fine. Okay? So pixelated materials or not visible materials most of the time are because dimensions are wrong. So, before answering to second question, is this helping? Let me know. Second question instead, Vanessa asked, can we drag same material on to as many objects? We can apply same material to how many objects we want. We just have two slightly different options in here. There are, we can drag and drop this material over and over and over onto different objects, and this is one way. But if we have, look, but if we have like 20 duplicates like this, it will take forever to drag and drop 20 times same material. So another option that we have if we need to apply same material to multiple objects is simply that. We can select multiple objects before, so we select them when they have no applied material, and then if I drag and drop this material on my selection, 3ds Max will ask me, look, do you want to apply your material to the entire selection? Of course, yes. I click OK, and boom, all my selected materials will have same applied material. Okay? So let's see here. It doesn't work when I resize my object. It is still blurry. So the question is, are you resizing? You're welcome, Vanessa. Are you resizing your object by clicking scale or by changing dimension onto the modify tab? Question. Because this is something that you all need to know. So the question is, okay, first of all, I don't trust you. Second of all, it is next to numbers of your object. Can you read the dimension, the units symbol or not? Or there are just numbers written? Let me see. Let's wait for the answer. What I'm saying is this. If I select a box, next to values of my box, I can read the number and I can see that I'm working in centimeters. So my cube is 5 centimeters. And as I showed you, why don't you put 80 centimeters? I said that 5 is small. Make it 80 by 80 by 80. 100. 5. Why 5? Let's wait this and then I will show you something. Let's wait. Ooh. The expectations are very high now because we all want to know if by changing dimensions, make them bigger, material will work. I told you that it was just too small. So, why I asked this question to your classmate? Because in the material, it makes a lot of difference if you change dimensions from the modify tab or if you scale your object. Look, so that I show you one of the main issue and main mistake that a lot of people used to do. See the difference. I will make 2 boxes. And I will make on purpose 2 copies so that they have nothing in common, but they just look similar. And what I will do is I apply this material and I apply this material. So see these extremely important difference in using 3ds Max. Look. When I apply a material, if I use scale to change the size and the aspect of my material, what I do in reality is I scale not only the object itself, but I also scale the material. So, if my material is wrong, even if I scale my object, my material will remain wrong. Because basically, when I use scale, I scale the entire amount of parameters that that box contains, even the material. While, if I select this box and I change dimensions, you will see that the size of my box is changing, while size of my material is not changing. So see the difference again. Okay? And I want to show you this with another example. I will use bricks. Look. So I open again my material editor. Bricks are inside the category called masonry. I go to brick, common, and I drag and drop my material in here, and then see this difference. I apply this to my scaled box, and I apply this to my big box, the one that has bigger dimensions. Again, see this. You can notice that my objects are not showing bricks, simply because if I want to see the material into the viewport, I have to enable that parameter. So I select the material and I click this in my material editor, and now I can see this difference. Look. You can see that here bricks are looking bigger, and if I scale it, it is not changing the amount of bricks that I have, but bricks are becoming bigger or smaller. While if I change dimensions from my modify tab, look, bricks are keeping same size, while my box is changing its dimension. Okay? Is it clear the difference between using scale or using modify tab? Let me know, because this will be extremely important, especially when next week I will show you that you can also import three-dimensional objects from several websites, and you need to Okay, let me see this question. If I have many materials in my scenery and I need to search it, to select it, I'm not getting this question. What is the scenery? What do you mean about scenery? So let's see a couple of things in here. First of all, in the material editor, what you can do is you can, if you know the name of the material that you want, you can click here and you can type the name. Yes, from here. So look, let's say you want to use velvet and you have no idea where velvet is, and you don't know that velvet is inside fabric and so on, but it's called velvet. So you can type velvet and you will see that 3ds Max will give you immediately the possibility to drag and drop the material from the search box like this. So you can search materials by name. Let's say you want to use bricks. Is this? No. No, I mean from the materials already assigned. Yes, yes, yes. You can do this too. Let's see if this is the question. So let's see. Let's say now we have applied 100 different materials. Or let's do another example. Wait a second. Okay, let's close this. Let's say, what is fabric? Fabric. Let's see if this is the question. Let's say, in my project, I have two different fabrics. This one and this one. And I apply this here and this here. Now there is a problem, that is, they are not showing in my viewport, so I don't know. Now I have a lot of things, but I don't know which of these materials I have to select from the view to, let's say, enable the preview. And how can I know exactly which material is applied to this sphere or to this box? If I need to do this simple selection, this is why you need to know this button up here that is called Pick Materials. So if I have applied my fabric to the sphere, but I don't know now which fabric is, there is no problem. I have to click Pick Material. I go over the sphere, poof, and 3ds Max immediately selects, and you can see that it is highlighted in white, but it selects the material that is applied to the object. So if I click the preview, boom, I will be sure that I will check this. I can do the same for the box. Look, I click Pick Material, I pick the box, poof, and this is the material that is applied. I can click it here. Okay, was this the question? Then I will answer to this other question. So this is for, and also I have to answer to this other question. So, question from Vanessa. Yes, perfect, I'm the best. So let's see here. Simran asks, so this is only once that material has been added, right? Yes, but before the material is put on, you can scale without the object? No. This is, if you use scale before or after, it will be the exact same result. No. So, look. If I make a box and I scale it, and then I apply the material, even if I'm scaling it before applying the material, doesn't change. 3ds Max knows the scaling factor before or after applying the material, so the result will be the same. So if you want to scale the material, use scale. If you want to change the size of your object, you have to change size of your object. So it doesn't matter if you scale it before or after applying the material. Is that clear for Simran? One by one. Okay. So, Julie says, I get the message. Material editor render is changed to ART render. Failed. Okay, got it. Perfect. So, 2 problems solved. Let's see. I was reading. I get the message material editor renderer is changed to ART. Failed to load texture file. No, that is really bad. This is really bad. Julie, question number 1. Are you using same materials that I am using or just random materials? First of all, try to check by using exact same materials that I'm using. I wait your answer and then I will move on. Because then we have to answer to this other question. That is it possible to rescale the pattern? And then that would be amazing. So first of all, for Julie, are you having this message for whatever material? No. For some kind of materials it may happen, but try to use, let's say, red oak, the same that I'm using before, because there are some materials that maybe can give you that error message. But I need to know if it happens for all of them or just for 1 or 2 or just a few of them. Let me know quickly. I will add. Let me know, or to be precise, let us know, because we are all waiting for you. And because second thing that I want to show you here would be amazing, it would be unbelievable, I will say. Nope, still doesn't work. This is really bad. So, if you experience some very weird problems in managing materials and rendering in 3ds Max, unfortunately the only thing that you can do is I will try to show you, but I won't do it because I have to close and reopen the program. That is this. You have to do this. Look. So this is only if your materials are not working properly. What you have to do is you have to go to customize. So if your materials are working, just check your Instagram feed right now. But if your materials are not working, do this. Go to customize. Go to custom UI and default switcher. Here you have to select design vids.art and default UI. I won't click set because I have to turn off 3ds Max, but you have to click Set, and then you have to close and reopen 3ds Max. Do this and let me know if it works. Okay? In the meantime, I will show you one additional aspect of materials. That is what one of you asked. That is it possible to rescale the pattern? Okay, so let us know later. So another question asked, is it possible to rescale the pattern of the material instead of changing the dimension? And believe it or not, the answer is yes. But this involves one additional tool. So, before viewing how to make our own material, let's see something a little bit more interesting and useful, especially because at the very beginning I highly suggest to use materials from library. There are a lot, and it is more important to understand how to apply them, rather than create new one. But see this. Let's say this box has correct dimensions, and let me also delete all these things. So this box has correct dimensions, but for whatever reason, instead, I need to change the size of my material. So what I can do, look, it is something fantastic. That is, I need to use a modifier applied to this object. And this modifier is called Uvw Map. This is the name of the modifier. This modifier is extremely simple to be used. Let me show you how it works. Where I will put this pen? No, here. This modifier works like that. You select your object, you apply this modifier. It is called Uvw Map. At the very beginning, you may notice that while before my material was working properly, now it looks like my material is crooked here. It is wrong. And this is simply because when I apply Uvw Map at the beginning, I need to adjust one simple parameter, that is, in here, I need to set correctly mapping mode for my object. And only by default, and I'm sorry, this is not my fault, but each time that you apply Uvw Map, mapping is set as planar. So even if my object was a box, the mapping becomes planar. But if your object is a box, or it is looking like a box, just set box. And this is first step to fix this small issue. Okay? If your object was a sphere, click spherical. If it was cylindrical or looking like a cylinder, click cylindrical. If it is a teapot, you have to look for spherical. I mean, it doesn't have to look like one of these mapping modes. But once that you apply Uvw Map and you correctly set your mapping mode, check this, because this will be something that will change your life forever. Next to Uvw Map, you can see this tiny triangle. Okay? So, once that you apply this modifier, what you have to do is you click this triangle, and there is something called Gizmo, and you click it. When you are in this particular situation, what you can do is something that will leave you speechless. That is, now you can move the material without moving the object. You can rotate the material without rotating your object, as well as you can scale the material instead of scaling the object. Okay? Look, you can rotate it, you can move it. And what is interesting is that this is made by a modifier. So if I do too many steps, no? And after a while I scale, I stretch it, and I messed up completely the way that the material is applied. In order to fix my box, what I have to do is only I select the modifier that is called the Uvw Map, and I just delete the modifier, and my material goes back to its original shape, to its original look, and I am good to go, and I can maybe reapply it again, and so on and so on. So let me see the chat. That is so awesome. I know that is so awesome. I told you. That is true. Because with materials, you can give basically life to your projects rather than just making shapes. And 3ds Max becomes a lot more close to virtual reality software. Using Uvw Map, for example, is crucial when you make certain kind of objects, especially in architecture, like this. Look. And this is a pretty common mistake. But let's see this. If I make a staircase, let's see if I can make this wrong. Exactly. And then I make all these steps. Instance. Okay, this is my, oops, goes in here, it's okay. So this is my staircase. And let's say, I mean, because we all love natural materials and so on, it is a pretty common choice that this stair will be made by using wood. So look, I open my material editor. I know that I have already used wood, so I apply wood to one of my box. But remember, I have used instance, so just to add another interesting concept, look, because all my steps were instances, if I apply one material to an instance, I apply same material to all other instances. And this is third way to apply one material to multiple objects. But there is something wrong in here. look. When I use wood, I need not only to be precise in 3ds Max, I need also to be precise about realistic use of wood. That is this. Whenever I have wooden objects, I need to know that wood has wooden fibers that are always oriented along the length of my object. So wooden fibers should look like this. To be not only made in wood, but being realistic. This looks just fake and wrong. So, this is when I have to use Uvw Map. And again, because all my objects are instances, I don't have to apply Uvw Map to all of my steps. I will apply to one of my instance. Look, I select, this one. I go to the Modify tab. I select Uvw Map Modifier. Again, I'm so sorry, but this starts always by being planar. I click box because my objects are boxes. And I will fix my material by opening the triangle that is next to Uvw Map. I click Gizmo and I will rotate my material. When I rotate my gizmo, I can also be precise. So I can also use angle snap and I can rotate my material to be sure that it would be exactly 90 degrees. Then I don't like this repetition here and I can move instead my texture. Maybe 2 repetitions or just move them. Oh, look at that. That is beautiful now. And now I can close the Uvw map. So now not only I have applied my material to my objects in order to give right look, but this is also realistically correct. So this is how wood will be applied in a real wooden step. Okay? Till here? Let me know, because there are a few more things that I need to show you that will blow your mind. But let me know if till here is fine. Perfect. Okay, let's see if someone has other doubts. Because materials are extremely interesting. They are also very complex, and we need also next lesson to explain materials, but they are too cool. Okay, so let's see this other. No, wait, I have a question. Oh. Which question do you have? So we are waiting for your question. Which is your question? You have... Oh. Is there a way to treat different object as object? Huh? Because in this way, wood Ah, yeah, okay, okay, I got it. So your classmate says, you can see that wood looks exactly the same in all these objects. But remember, I did this quickly by making them as instances. If you want, you can start as instances. Yes. Exactly. They should be copies rather than instances. So let's say you can also do this afterward, because if I select an instance, I can see this button here available. Look, this button here. This button is called Make Unique. What it means is basically that it turns an instance into a copy even afterward. So if I by mistake have created all objects as instances, it is not a big problem. I can select an instance, I click this Make Unique, so that this becomes a copy, and now I can change this object as unique object. So I select this. This is again is still instance of all other steps. I click Make Unique, and now I can treat this material in a slightly different way, and I will obtain the ultimate realistic look for my objects. Is this the question? I mean, yes. So it is a combination of, but mainly it involves making copies rather than instances. Instances is good when you have extremely similar looking objects, and also it is interesting to start, but when you want to go into details, just turn your objects into copies and modify them in a slightly different way. So they will be all unique, and they will be slight, but even if they are using same material, but same material will be slightly different in each step. So let's see this other extremely important use of the modifier that is called Uvw Map. There is something, I mean, that, how can I say, you can't live without. Look, there are multiple cases when you don't need just to change the material, but there is a very specific case when the material will be for sure wrong, and it is when you apply Edit Poly to your object. What it means? Look, if I select this object and I start by using Edit Poly, see what happens to my object and to my material. Look, let's say I select this edge and I start by moving the edge. So what happens is that you can see that the material itself will follow all deformations that I am applying to my object. But these deformations are not quite correct, because look, can you see this? Can you see that this half triangle of this polygon is not stretching, while this upper triangle is stretching. So the more steps, the more adjustments I do to my edit poly object, look, the more wrong my object will look like. So let's see. I use, for example, extrude, and I will also extrude the texture. I use inset, and I will have this horrible results. Let's say extrude again. So look, this terrible 3D model. It has the material that is completely wrong. This is when, again, I have to use Uvw Map to fix everything. So I need simply to apply Uvw Map. I will choose from here the mapping mode that fits better the way the 3ds Max needs to use to apply my material. I will select box. Boom! And my object has not only the shape that I want, but it also has a more correct Uvw map, that is the way that the material is wrapped. Okay? Till here, because I want to show you something now that it would be a little bit complex, but you must be ready because, I mean, so let me know if you are comfortably seated, because this is too cool. Ready? Steady? Go! Look here. I like to use always edged faces when I work with Edit Poly, because I need to see exactly where my polygons are divided. And this is not only because I like to work like this, but this is extremely important because let's see now what happens to my object. If this is an object that is really made in wood, in order to be more realistic, probably what I would like to see will be that in here, that is my horizontal part, I really like to see wood with this orientation. But maybe when I have extruded with this angled side my box, in here it would be a little bit fake to see the wood that is still horizontal. Maybe it would be more realistic to see wood that is going like this. And even here. No? So, what I want to explain is that not only you can change the overall aspect of your material by using Uvw Map, but because you know the modifier that is called Edit Poly, what is great is the fact that you can combine Edit Poly with Uvw Map, and you can have different orientation or scaling or position of your material polygon by polygon by doing this. Look. Oops. you apply after your main UVW map, you apply again Edit Poly. So look at the list of modifiers that I am applying. In your last Edit Poly, you won't do anything else rather than clicking polygons and with Control key, you select only those polygons where you want to change the orientation of your UVW map. Okay? Ready for this? So next, by keeping this Edit Poly with polygons selected, I apply another UVW map, and you may start seeing that this last UVW map is not affecting all polygons, but only those previously selected polygons. So in this case, I set it as a box. I open the gizmo and I rotate it like this. Fantastic. And maybe I move it. Why not? When I deselect everything, see this amazing result. Oops, like this. Believable, isn't it? I know, this is tricky, isn't it? Can you repeat the procedure? Of course I will. But, I mean, let me create something else. If not, it would be too boring. So, let me create something that is also a realistic scenario. Okay, see this. I go to my material editor. Let's see if I find interesting tiles. 4 inches. Let's see. I apply tiles. Okay. I make it visible. Ooh! These tiles are terrible. No. Let me use checker. Let's see this. Not that great. No, I don't like them. Give me 3 seconds. Tiles. This one. Ivory. Let's see. Oops. Oh my, I'm so unlucky. This one. Oh, finally. Terracotta tiles that are pretty visible and they are square and everything is fine. So look. Finally, what I will do will be this. I apply Edit Poly. And here I want to do something that is very common. That is, I select my top polygon and I use inset like this. And I click OK. And you may notice that by doing this, my material is completely distorted. So what I will do is I will apply, after shaping my object, I will apply Uvw Map to fix overall aspect of my material. My my object is a box, so I apply Uvw Map and I set it as a box. And I am pretty happy. If I want to be more happy, I can open the gizmo of my Uvw Map and I will do this very picky thing. That is, in this corner, it is where I will also put the corner of my tiles. Okay? But see this. In this floor, having all these tiles parallel to sides will make this floor very boring. So what I will do will be, in the center polygon, only in the center polygon, I want my tiles to be 45 degrees angled. So check. After applying first Uvw Map to fix overall aspect of my material, what I do is I apply again Edit Poly on top of it. In this additional Edit Poly, I will select Polygon, and I will select only that polygon where I want a different Uvw Map, and without closing polygon selection, I apply again Uvw Map. This second Uvw Map, as you may notice, has the symbol of polygons, and this means that if I change the gizmo, this Uvw Map will affect only the material in my selected polygon. So I can move it, I could scale it, even if it makes no sense, but in this case I want to rotate it 45 degrees, and then I will move it so that I will be very precise, like that, so that first corner of my first tile starts from here. Then I can deselect everything, and this is what I will get. That is, I have an object where each polygon may have a completely different material scaling position and orientation. And you can keep doing this. So what it means is that if your object will be particularly complex, you can add Edit Poly and Uvw Map as many times that you want, like, let's say, the sphere. I can apply Uvw Map first, but of course this is a sphere, so I will click spherical. And then I can apply Edit Poly, select only these polygons, and apply Uvw Map, again spherical, or I don't know, just change it, box or cylindrical or planar, whatever. And if I change the gizmo, I will change the gizmo of this. polygons. But then again, I can apply another edit poly, select other polygons, deselect previous polygons, so that in these, polygon, if I keep this opened, my additional UVW map will affect only these polygons. I can scale it, and so on and so on. Okay, so this is just the repetition of these modifiers: edit poly, UVW map, edit poly, UVW map, edit poly, UVW map. Okay? First of all, for Vanessa, it was this, and then we will answer to this other question. Was this clear or not? Let me see. Does it work? Because really, I will explain. Lovely. I will explain last thing. There is also exactly, I mean, it looks like we have a deal that is, yes, last thing that I want to show you is that not only you can use edit poly to have different UVW maps, but by using edit poly, you can also have into the same object different materials. So the way it works is very simple. Let me delete everything so that I start with a simple box. That is this. I make a box, I go to my material editor, and an interesting thing onto the material editor is that, let's say I don't want to reuse these materials, and what I can do is I can, from the view, take care, not from here, but from the view, I can select materials that I don't want to use, and I can just hit the delete button, and I will remove those materials from the view. So just I won't see them, but I won't delete them from objects if they were applied, as well as I won't delete them from the library. I'm just removing them from my working viewport. So let's say, let's quickly use 3 materials. Which one? I don't know. Plastic. So that they will have just a color. Like smooth red, smooth blue, and smooth yellow. Okay. Let's say we have just these 3 loaded materials. Okay? So see this. What I can do is, right now, my box has no applied materials. And if I drag and drop one of these, I will apply this material to all polygons of my box. Also, if I want to change the material, I just need to drag and drop another material. There is nothing easier to do rather than this if you want to change the material. So just drag and drop another one. But the interesting thing is that, what if I would like to have, let's say, the majority of my box yellow and just this face blue and this face red? How to deal with this? The thing is very simple, and what you have to do is, again, you have to use Edit Poly. And look, if I use Edit Poly and I select a polygon, but take care, I have previously applied a material in order to be applied overall the box. Then I want to change one polygon, or even more than one, but I click Edit Poly, I select the polygon, and if I drag and drop this over my selected polygon, you will see something horrible, that is, it doesn't work. And this is the only limit of Edit Poly as modifier. I'm so sorry, but this is not my fault. Look. But the thing makes a lot of logic, but it doesn't work. Don't ask me why, but see this. This precise operation is, believe it or not, the only reason when, instead of using Edit Poly, you need to use that more dramatic way to use Editable Poly, that is, right-click on your object and use the option called Convert to Editable Poly. Don't ask me why, even if this looks 100% the same, but see the difference. This is the only real difference. I convert my box to Editable Poly, and I will repeat the process. So I select this, and I drag and drop. And now look. And only because we have used Convert to Editable Poly, now yes, now I am able to apply unique materials polygon by polygon. Don't ask me why Edit Poly won't allow you to do this. It's like a limit of the software. It is not something that depends on how I explain or how you are dealing with objects. But the only quick, easy way to apply more materials onto the same object is by converting your object to Editable Poly. Okay? Till here? Because I need just one last minute to give you an interesting homework. So, till here, is it clear? Give me a sign. So in the meantime, I will repeat. Look, if I make a box, and I'm also more or less like using a spoiler on your homework, but I won't be precise on purpose. Let's say you can do this. You can make a box using 3 segments here, 3 segments here, 3 segments there. Then look, and this will be your homework that I have created right now. So blue, red, yellow. Let's put also smooth green, orange, look, off-white, this should be copyrighted, white and black. What is black? Smooth black. So let's see this. What I can do now is I can right click, convert my object to editable poly. I can apply black to the entire box, and then check this. I will select all my polygons. I can click Inset by Polygon. Perfect. And now, look, I select all these 9 polygons and I will drag and drop green. I select all these 9 polygons and I will drag and drop blue. I can select all these and I will drag and drop, I don't know, red. Fantastic, isn't it? These control, apply yellow. This, and I apply orange, and I think I just miss white. So I select all of these. I need to drag and drop the white, and this is fantastic, a Rubik cube. Don't know. Remove. I don't know who's this guy here. Okay. Perfect. So this is my materials do not work even after customize. Oh my god. Unfortunately, are you using 3ds Max 2019 or what? In the meantime that I wait your classmate, just and so that I will what is this? Okay. What is my whiteboard here? Yes, 19. This is pretty sad. But first of all, before I answer to your classmate, your homework for today, for next week, will be a very interesting one that is also creative. That is, you need to design freely a furniture inspired by the Rubik, I think it's written like this, by the Rubik cube. So feel free to make it whatever, a chair, a stool, a bookshelf, a table, whatever you can imagine, inspired by the Rubik's Cube, so that you have to deal with more than one material. First of all, this will be your homework. Okay? For all of you. And in the meantime, let's see the chat. My materials don't work after customizing. I mean, you have to install and reinstall the software. I think, unfortunately, yes. First of all, for Julie, yes. Probably you have to reinstall 3ds Max 19 because you haven't installed all textures. So try to reinstall and then contact me by mail during this week. Don't wait next Monday to check if it works. Simran asks, could you please also suggest some websites where we download free 3D models? This is a little bit too early. I can suggest one at least, but it is not something that you should use for this homework. You can use for other projects. But one website that is for free actually is archive3d.net. This one. This is for sure for free, and it contains a lot of 3D objects. But technically I will explain how to use 3D models next week. Next week we have to do two main things. There are, I will show you how to create your own materials from scratch, plus how to use downloaded 3D models. Okay? So this is everything for today. Try to make this interesting free creative homework to design your own custom piece inspired by the Rubik's Cube, and we will see next week. Okay? So that I can close and start my next class, that if you also want to view it again, the class that I will do now from 11 to 1 will be basically same thing that you have seen. So it will be also another chance to review things that we have seen right now. So when is final submission? Submission will be for 3ds Max Monday, May the 18th. So the entire week, that is May from 18 till May the 22nd, is to submit final projects. Okay? For all my classes. Perfect! It has been a pleasure, and we will see you next week, or find me live whenever you want to see my beautiful lessons. See you next week. Bye!